Paulie Malignaggi here for Paulie TV. I'll tell you what, man. The heavyweight division's put on notice. Deontay Wilder has not gone anywhere. There was a lot of question marks. I know I had a lot of question marks, and I'm sure a lot of fans and, haters and fans alike were wondering, what kind of Deontay Wilder would we get coming off of three very, physically grueling fights with Tyson Fury, the best heavyweight in the world. I'll tell you what, Fury, having had so much of a layoffs in his career, and not having had the consistent career that, say, Vladimir Klitschko had. A lot of people have had this. It's difficult to judge him because he hasn't gotten to fight all the top heavyweights and so on and so forth. I've always believed Fury is the best heavyweight in the world, but I think the excellence of Deontay Wilder as he continues to not just do a job, and people will say, oh, well, who did he just knock out? It doesn't matter. He knocked out a guy he was supposed to knock out, and he did it in extreme fashion, and he did it in emphatic fashion, and the guy didn't even get a chance to be mildly competitive. Deontay just showed how many levels above him he was. And I think the excellence of Deontay Wilder is the biggest gauge in just showing us just how really good Tyson Fury is. But this post-fight interview, report is not about Tyson Fury. It's about Deontay Wilder. But it was just something that I was thinking about as I saw the KO of Wilder, as I saw the way he handled Helenius. There's a lot of question marks about Deontay. Oh, what if he didn't have power? He's got these deficiencies and these deficiencies. Man, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because when you hit that hard, that's the eraser, bro. It erases all the other errors. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many. Yes, there's a lot of technical errors Deontay may make, but he hits you once, and that's it. You're erased as well as all his errors are erased. And that's sort of the way I looked at the Helenius fight. There was people telling me, oh, Helenius is durable, and I've seen Helenius. I saw Helenius. I was in England when Helenius fought Dillian White. He went the distance. White won the fight easily, but Helenius was a durable guy, stayed in there, and so on and so forth. So I was curious, just based off of three grueling fights with Tyson Fury, what kind of Deontay Wilder was going to come back? How confident was he going to be in shooting his power? How confident was he going to be in his style? How confident was he going to be just as a fighter in general? Because as we get worn down physically and mentally in this fight game, we sort of physically and mentally don't show up the same way in fights. And man, I'll tell you, Deontay Wilder, like I said, he answered the call emphatically. What a knockout! First round. Job done, statement made. I'll tell you that in terms of breaking down the knockout, you'll notice Helenius was going with a right hand jab combination. He was trying to come right hand to the stomach and then jab to the head and then right hand to the head. I mean, the way you're supposed to do that correctly is 1-1-2. You do it quickly, you touch the body and then 1-2. But Helenius ended up reaching, which Deontay mentioned in the post-fight press conference that the plan was to make Robert reach. And when he threw that right hand, the initial right hand, he kind of threw from far away. And once he threw the first punch from far away, you might as well bail on the rest of the combination. Don't try to finish it because especially with a puncher like Wilder, it's going to cost you. And he started out reaching with the first right hand, reached a little too much, and he continued the combination. So he went with the jab upstairs, and then he was trying to come right hand, jab, and right hand, and that leaned him right into that Deontay Wilder right hand, which again, this guy might be, he's in the conversation for the hardest puncher in boxing history. I know guys like, Julian Jackson come to mind, and, guys like Gennady Golovkin come to mind, and so on and so forth in terms of, some of the biggest punchers we've seen in the sport of boxing, Mike Tyson and so on and so forth. But this guy, it's like he didn't even throw that hard. It didn't look like he even put anything on it, man. He just let it go. And I saw some comments about, oh, this is set up. It's not set up, bro. When you go out and your head hits the ground, you're out before you hit the ground, bro. Robert Helenius was knocked out before he hit the ground. You're not acting that, bro. Nobody's falling like that with their heads bouncing off the ground like that. You know what I mean? So Helenius was out before he hit the ground. He was legitimately knocked out, and it's kind of crazy because obviously Deontay walked him into it, so it's double impact. You got the impact of Helenius falling forward and Deontay's right hand. But Deontay, there's no room against those ropes. I don't know how he got any leverage on it. It's crazy how he got that kind of leverage on it. It's just some people just have this crazy power. But then there's Deontay's power, which is just like another level of power. It looks like it's like touch of sleep, man. You know what I mean? Like he just touch you and you sleep, and really, it shocked me to see how that knockout played out, But once again, it puts the heavyweight division on notice that this guy's still around, and he's still around at a very, very high level. And he's still going to be very, very dangerous. Yeah, he had a great trilogy with Tyson Fury. You know, as I look at this, it's starting to become Fury, Usyk, and Wilder, but those three are starting to really separate themselves from the rest of the pack. I mean, I was wondering if Wilder maybe was separated a little bit from the first two after 3 fights with Fury and losing the last two, but I don't care about how Helenius wasn't a top 5 heavyweight. It's not that he got rid of Helenius, it's the way he got rid of him. This dude is still dangerous. This dude is still, on top of his game. And it's just, I mean, bro, it's just like you're not. I mean, who are you going to pick against over Deontay Wilder right now, bro? I mean, okay, Fury beat him. Okay, well, that's out the question. Who else can mess with Deontay Wilder? Usyk's amazing, but man, Usyk is still kind of an undersized heavyweight. It would be a really interesting fight, I'll tell you that. You know what's funny? I'll tell you an interesting tidbit about Usyk and Wilder. In 2008, Usyk was beaten in the quarterfinals in the Olympics by Clemente Russo, the Italian. And then in the semis, Clemente Russo beat Deontay Wilder. And then he lost the finals in 2008 and got a silver medal. Coincidentally, also, Russo ended up losing the 2012 Olympic finals to Alexander Usyk, who he'd beaten in the quarters 4 years earlier in 2008. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because Usyk and Wilder would have fought in the semifinals of the 2008 Olympics had Usyk beaten Clemente Russo in those Olympics. But Russo beat him in the quarters, and then he also eliminated Deontay in the semis before losing himself in the finals. And like I said, then 4 years later, Deontay already was a pro. Usyk was still in the amateurs, so was Russo. Russo actually never turned pro. And they fought in the Olympic finals, Russo and Usyk did, and Usyk was able to exact revenge on Russo and beat him in the Olympic finals. So Russo ends up getting back-to-back silver medals. Usyk gets no medal in 2008 and a gold medal in 2012. So it's interesting, we talk about the possibility of Wilder, Usyk. We talk about these, mythical matchups, which obviously we're in the same generation, so they could still happen. But, Usyk and Wilder would actually have a history had Usyk been able to beat Russo in 2008 like he ended up doing in 2012, but they would have met in the 2012 and 2008 Olympic semifinals. Just a random, throwaway fact out there, that I sometimes come up with my head and start to think of crazy scenarios that almost happened and didn't happen. But what next for Deontay Wilder? I mean, he's coming off of 2 losses in a row to Fury, and he just made a statement that he's still around. Now it's up to Anthony Joshua after his 2 losses in a row to Usyk. How's he going to come back? And is he going to be able to make the same kind of statement? You got guys like Andy Ruiz hanging around, who just got the win over Luis Ortiz, and obviously are always a threat and remain dangerous. But I'll be honest, once again, the Fury, Usyk, and Wilder threesome, trifecta, so to speak, the Fury, Usyk, and Wilder trifecta. I think there's a big separation with those three and the rest of the heavyweight division from 4 on down, which is still solid, mind you. You can start throwing Joshua Ruiz in there, whatever, all those other guys. They're still good heavyweights, but I think there's a legitimate disconnect between those top 3 and the rest of the heavyweight division. As of right now, the way I feel right now, the way I feel after watching Deontay Wilder do what he did, that was pretty impressive. Also, another thing I'll say this. I have had my differences with Wilder over things that I still don't necessarily agree with him on, but regardless, I analyze fighters as fighters and the situations as situations, and I try not to put my own personal feelings in there if I can avoid it. Wilder a few years ago was the one who was saying that he wants to catch a body. He'd love it if he'd catch a body. And yesterday was very emotional in the post-fight press conference. I actually broke down in tears talking about the damage that some fighters take. He mentioned Pritchard Colon. He was worried about Robert Helenius, which ultimately, if you get a 1-round knockout, usually you're going to be okay. It's usually the prolonged beating or the prolonged, dragged-out tough fight that causes damage. 1-round knockouts, you wake up and you're typically okay, unless you went into the fight with already damaged, which usually doesn't happen. Nonetheless, there's a different tune to Deontay Wilder. Sometimes we grow up and we get a little older, we get a little more mature. I know, God knows, I've done my share of stupid things and said my share of stupid things through the years. As you get older, you think a little bit differently. You just start to mature a little bit more. I certainly at 20 years old didn't think the way I do now at 41 years old. I don't think the way I did at 31 years old now at 41 years old. So and I doubt that in 10 years at 51 years old, I'll think the way I do now. You're always learning a little bit more, and you're always adding a little bit more to your knowledge to yourself and just maturing a little bit. And I say that in the way that I see Deontay Wilder. He came off very, very genuine in that post-fight interview and the things he was saying after just a couple of years ago, saying, some pretty disturbing things about wanting to catch a body and so on and so forth. So sometimes people mature, they grow up, and they just, you just become a grown man. You're an adult. Deontay has a family. You start to think of life from a little bit of a different perspective, and it's a good thing. You know, I think it's part of the natural maturation. If you're not kind of changing the way you think and the way you have the perspective of on life as you're getting older, that means you're kind of wasting your years. You know, and it's nice to see Deontay sort of having a little bit of that change. But I'll tell you what, man, I can remember working Deontay Wilder fights early in my career, early in his career. Sorry, like fights down in Mobile and Tuscaloosa and whatnot. You know, and you know, before he had all the fame, before he got all that Hollywood fame and LA fame and LA style fame and stuff like that. And I used to tell people, you know, how is Deontay when they'd ask me, you know, he was just a prospect / contender. I used to tell them, you know, this guy's reminds me of like a Southern gentleman, man. You know, he's a big dude, but he's such a nice dude. You know what I mean? Like the biggest guy, he could be the scariest guy because let's face it, he was knocking the hell out of people even back then. But I used to tell people, man, this guy's so nice. Like he's just a southern, you know, he has a southern charm about him. I'm Paulie Malignaggi for Paulie TV, and I'll see you next time.